Alrighty, girls, this is a take.
You're listening to League Podcast, episode 417, The League versus Secret Wars. I'm Mac Durson.
I'm Jen Hunt.
Clay and Berno of Battleworld.
Yes, welcome back. We're going to talk about the 1984-85 one primarily. We don't really have much to say about the one that came out a few years ago because I don't think.
What are we talking about?
I told you, Secret Wars.
Secret Wars.
We're going to talk about the toys. We're going to talk about the series, the impact, the secrets, the wars, the whole thing.
I thought what we were talking about was the secret. That's why I reacted that way.
Oh, so I didn't get it. I didn't know if you heard me say League versus Secret War.
I don't really pay attention at the beginning of the show, the middle of the show, or the end of the show. So who knows what I say?
All right, it's good. I'm glad you and everybody else doesn't pay attention. So.
At least I'm honest.
So let's break it down here. Back in the 1980s, this was the gateway into comics, pretty much, I have to say. And I think it was your fault, John.
Yeah, because it was my gateway into comics. I read the Joes. I read a little Batman here and there. But Secret Wars was introduced to me in 6th grade in Mr. Reynolds' class
by Dream?
A fellow named
Greg Mr. Reynolds. You're slower than molasses in January going uphill.
Hey, you're nuttier than a fruit. What was
fruit cake.
Yeah. Nuttier than a fruit cake. Oh, Delbert Reynolds. Yeah. Oh, man. What a great.
Which, it took me forever to realize that we had a teacher named Burt Reynolds. Like, it was 30 years after.
Now.
Well, because he never went by Burt, did he? I mean, I think they called him Del. Well, he went by Mr.
Yeah, I think that's what he probably wanted to do, the Hollywood thing, like John C. Reilly or,
Michael J. Fox.
Yeah.
So what was this gentleman's name who got you into Secret Wars in 6th grade?
Greg Tedeschi.
Really? Oh,
yeah.
Right.
And he was a big comics fan. I feel like in my memory of him, he'd be like someone maybe I wouldn't hang around with. But you know how school just kind of puts you together with people that you wouldn't normally hang around with.
I think I have the relationship with the younger Tedeschi the same way.
How about that? But I mean, he was very nice and all, but he seemed like he'd be the dirty kid in school, But I'm just saying that might not be the case. My memory of 35 years ago, is a little sketchy at the best.
Like dirty in a perverted way?
No, dirty and like
gross.
Smelly.
You're gross.
Smelly.
Yeah. Okay.
But I don't recall him ever smelling. It's just that's what my brain is filled in with. That so he'd be the smelly kid.
Well, I remember seeing. I mean, obviously we knew Spider-Man and Hulk and stuff like that, right? I mean, but I didn't know too many. Like, I didn't know who Hawkeye was. I had no idea who, I didn't know most of the X-Men, although I guess they had appeared on Spider-Man as Amazing Friends.
Yeah. But like a lot of Spider-Man and Amazing Friends episodes were pretty bad. So
yeah. So, but I think that's I didn't know who a lot of these heroes were. I didn't know who a lot of the villains were either. I think I knew Doctor Doom somehow.
My mind was like, what the Hulk is speaking in complete sentences? What is going on?
Guys, I have an important one for you here. I only read this yesterday.
Why did you want to do this as a topic?
Because I bought it like, and I have it in issues, and I was like, I can't wait to fucking read this. So I said, boom, we should do this. It was on the topic list. And but you know what I actually did is I went on to Comixology and I bought the nearly 400-page version of this. I don't know why, but 368 pages. So I sat in my office yesterday and I read it with fresh eyes.
Well,
wow.
They're not.
Okay, so you have read it. Like, do you mean you read it for the first time? Or
yeah.
I mean, you must have read all right. There you go. Clay never read it.
Sometimes I guess classic books, like you guys like remember going to the store to get this. And I was always like, I kind of knew about it. I knew that that's where Spidey got his suit from, but like I was reading like the Tom McFarlane, and like before that, like Venom comics. That's pretty much my whole relationship with the black costume. Maybe I have some Web of Spider-Man.
The black costume that hooked me after that. Like after I was like, what?
That was
the
cool.
first appearance, not the first appearance, but the second issue with it, drawn by Rick Leonardi, who I always felt was an underrated Spider-Man artist. No one ever gives him any.
Did he draw some G.I. Joes, maybe?
He may have. I think he drew Spider-Man 2099 as well, but I could be wrong about that. 9.
Well, I want to give a quick. This is from JimShooter.com apparently a while ago. So this is right from. I'm going to read this direct quote from Jim Shooter.
Jim Shooter's email address.
Oh,
many years
from
ago.
Jim Shooter. I did an interview with him that was so bad that like Stefan decided not to even publish it, and I wasn't even mad.
Was it bad because he was difficult to interview, or it was just
no?
A bad
there
interview?
was like it was like about like a comic but it was like some other guy wrote it and he was the editor, and like they were both on the interview, and I didn't even understand what the comic was about really. It was just like the whole thing was like a nightmare, but he was like nice enough on the phone, but it was kind of went nowhere. So it never even saw the light of day.
You hear conflicting stories about Jim Shooter. Either he was great to you or he was horrible to you, which I guess I'll get into when we get into the comic a little bit. There's one particular point I want to make about.
Okay. Well, let me just read this because he was the editor at Marvel at the time, and he said Kenner had licensed DC heroes and Mattel had He-Man, but Mattel wanted something else. In case superheroes took off, they wanted the next big fad, so they are interested in Marvel heroes. And he says only if they staged a publishing event that would get a lot of attention and they could build a theme around. And they said fans, especially young fans, often suggested to me one big story with all the heroes and all the villains in it. So he proposed that, and he decided only I can write it, really, or I should write it.
Only I can do justice to this epic story.
Yeah, but Mattel did a lot of focus groups on what and they said we want Dr. Doom and Iron Man to look more technological and more cool, and they also wanted fortresses and vehicles so they could sell all that stuff. And so that's how Secret Wars was born. It's kind of interesting.
The name
get
too,
into the vehicles.
That like kids want like the word secret in wars.
Right. That was. So they said, okay, there you go, like piece of cake. But it's kind of funny.
The Marvel superheroes banner too. It's like DC kind of has a version of that's like the Super Friends, but I'm trying to think of what it's called, but it's just like boom, Marvel superheroes, and then they can put that on all the toys.
Right. But that's really I never thought of that, I guess. I mean, I knew they had toys. I bought any of the toys, and then but I didn't know that was the driving force. Like
that was the whole thing to get it going.
Oh, we can make toys.
But what is weird is the fact that the toys that they put out, a lot of guys weren't even in Secret Wars, like Daredevil or Hobgoblin.
Yeah,
or Daredevil. Daredevil would have been cool in this.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I guess Jim Shooter said, "Nah, I want these guys."
In my mind, Secret Wars was like the USA for Africa of its day. All the big heavy hitters coming out to sing a song.
There won't be snow on Battleworld this Christmas time.
That's the other guys.
So the storyline was this one from Beyond or whatever they called him the Beyonder, and he created this world. He brought all these heroes and villains together from Earth because somehow he was like fascinated by the Earth and all the heroes, and he brought them all together.
You for a second, like we don't really see the Beyonder, right? Like he's a force in this.
Yeah,
they don't really show him. Yeah. Later in Secret Wars 2 or like other comics that came out after, like they showed like the human form of him, and I found like his actual form on the Marvel wiki, and he looks like a gross little thing, like the dirty boy in his school.
They did some retconning a few years ago of some of them, who the Beyonder was. So if you want to read the Illuminati series by Brian Michael Bendis, I think they kind of retconned some of Secret Wars 2 and whatever. So I don't know. But in this one, yeah, he's just like a glowy thing in space, and he says, "If you guys like fight, and the winners, anything they want, all you desire shall be yours." He says so.
Yeah, because he's like looking at Earth and seeing that they weren't getting what they really wanted, so he was gonna pit them against each other so they could. Is that it? I can't quite remember.
Something like that.
I don't know. Clay's got new eyes on this, so
it was the way you just described it is how I understand it.
Okay.
And I listened to the other Comics Explained. I listened to his thing today.
Ah, yes.
And he explained.
I listened to a couple different things. I watched a few things to kind of.
His is like a 2-hour fucking long thing.
It is like a marathon, but fortunately I had plenty of work, so I could listen while working.
So he brings this planet together of all this, like a patchwork planet. I think they called it a lot, like all different planets, and to make this battle world, including apparently a suburb of Denver. They keep saying that, like, oh, a suburb of Denver. I don't know why they don't just name this town.
I guess that's where Julie
Newmar.
The
Carpenter, yeah.
Carpenter? She's from that Denver there.
Yeah, the second Spider-Woman, the blonde-haired Spider-Woman. And
she's
there was
really
also
Spider-Woman. She is a Spider-Woman, but not
right.
the titular
She's not.
one.
But at the time, I don't think Jessica Drew was really doing anything. So I think she was the Spider-Woman at the time. I don't know. I maybe you guys know more background on her, but she never really did much.
I read the wiki and I was like, oh, okay, yeah. She's not really, doesn't really mean much in Marvel except
except
their biggest thing.
There's kind of like was she the inspiration for how Spider-Man's black suit came out? He kind of goes like, oh, it looks kind of like that Spider-Woman's outfit. Anyway, and there's also 2 other women that Dr. Doom turned into supervillains, Volcana and Titania. So he sort of recruited them. It was like, I give you powers, and it was cool. Literally in issue 2, they fight. This is great. As a little kid, I was like, yes, let's get right to it. The good guys win, and then the bad guys come back, and they blow up the good guys' headquarters.
You got your Galactus in there too.
Oh yeah. You're right. I forgot about Galactus. Galactus is all. He starts out on the bad guy side, and then he kind of he just becomes.
He's on nobody's side, really.
Right.
Yeah, he's just a force, just like Reed Richards is always. He's part of the cosmos.
Because he was going to start eating Battleworld or whatever.
Yeah, there was always this threat that he was just going to eat the planet and then try to beat the Beyonder. That was always the threat.
Save room for dessert, Galactus. Jeez.
Well, he needed enough power, but there was also this kind of Dark Doom kind of had this agenda going along too, where he was like, maybe I can use this and I can beat the Beyonder and then I can become all powerful. And so it was there was a lot going on. I'm not gonna. It wasn't just.
It's really hard to boil down into one episode.
Yeah. I mean, we're gonna gloss over a lot.
I'll say that from a sky eye view, it's a very Marvel story, and Jim Shooter was the writer, but this is totally what you want it, and it's maybe could have come out of Claremont or Byrne, Marvel stories.
He had all the voices of the characters, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah. Exactly. He really, and even what separates Marvel from DC, this idea that the Avengers are getting all together, but then they're all different. They can have their own adventures and things like that. It's just a very Marvel.
Yeah, there was the X-Men were kind of off.
X-Men are on their thing. The bad guys are their thing. Doom is doing his own thing. Galactus is doing his thing. You got your Avengers and your Spider-Man doing their thing. So they're all in their little comfortable corners. And then you've got Magneto thrown into the mix too. Is he good? Is he bad? Could it be fair? Could it be fair?
The first time you kind of see that too. Yeah.
They had that weird Magneto Wasp thing.
That sort of came out of nowhere.
What was that? Was that was she kind of just?
She was playing him out.
Because
she says she at the end of it she goes, "Yeah, haha, I just made out with you so I could know your plan, stupid idiot." And then she tries to fly away.
But what was his plan really? I mean, was he bad?
Well, his plan was to just sort of, okay, we tried it your way, Charles Xavier. I think the way we could do this is sort of like force everybody to be friends with us.
Oh, right. Yeah. So that's why he's like, nah, I got the Wasp prisoner. It was, but it was interesting. I mean, like,
yeah, it seems like taking a prisoner might be a bad idea if you're trying to prevent you're like, look at right. I'm doing this for a good reason, but I sort of kidnapped your leader of the Avengers.
But he's also, I love how he's just like, yeah, I've got the lazy boy chair and opening some chips. And he's just like relaxed. He's like totally relaxed. Prisoner of war, Magneto.
Look, you got to make the best of a situation, and everything's provided for you too. I mean,
that's
you
true.
Got your food, you got your toilets, you got your beds,
and this obviously this predates Infinity Gauntlet. But having read this, and then I kind of see Infinity Gauntlet in a different light now. Like they'd already done this Secret War, like they'd already kind of made everything disappear and like put all the teams together and like, so I see it like different, like kind of a building block to getting to that.
Well, this was the first. Yeah, I think this is pretty much the first big crossover, and then there were all these. One of your favorites, Clay, Atlantis Attacks, of course.
Oh, that's a good one. So is Acts of Vengeance. Those two are amazing.
Vengeance.
All these
Daredevil annual number 4.
Oh, there you go.
That weird thing where there was a shark flying in the tunnel in New York. What was that one?
I don't know.
There was like the ghouls and stuff.
Oh, Inferno?
Yeah, that's it.
That was mostly an X-Men thing, but yeah, they did do. But I mean, yeah, it's like this was the first time they did that, and now then they're still doing them. It's crazy. Like, I mean, literally, this was 1984, 1985. So it was a 12-issue series. So when, so like 1985, this is 2020. Jesus. Like,
yeah, and like John said before, like to have all the characters like really be. It's really Spider-Man, like it's really Wolverine. Like, I think that Jim Shooter is pretty much a genius, whether he's a jerk or not. Like, but he really knows comic books, like he knows, and he knows Marvel. At the time, if you're like the editor in chief, then you like are like, I'm doing this big thing and I'm using all the toys.
Yeah.
Well, the funny thing was,
as Clay was saying, I know the characters and. He had a very particular way that he thought Marvel Comics should read in terms of how you present a story, how you write your characters, and how you present the artwork, which is why the artist Mike Zeck had to redraw a ton of pages because Shooter was insisting like clarity. And someone had asked Mike Zeck at one point, he's like, why'd you redraw this page? And he's like, because Shooter didn't think it was boring enough.
Oh, wow.
So just imagine how much more dynamic the pages would have been before Shooter asked for revisions, because I thought Mike Zeck was a genius. Even like when you could tell that he was sort of rushing the art, I still think he was great.
Well, an easy way to do that is
that Bob Layton drew, I think
I was going to ask about that.
I thought they were sort of weak because I always felt he drew issue 4 and 5, I think. He drew the one where like the Hulk gets the mountain dropped on.
Yeah. That's 4. Yeah.
I always felt like I never thought Bob Layton was a bad artist. I just always thought his character poses were a bit stiff looking. They were a little awkward and stiff.
Well, he probably had stuff on Iron Man years later, but not a couple years later, not many
years before and later at that.
Later, right. But there was a lot of characters to draw. But the funny thing was,
oh, go ahead.
Please. No, the funny thing was, like you were talking about Jim Shooter being a genius and all that. It sold really good. It was a huge seller, but it didn't get a lot of good reviews from people at the time. They thought it was kind of schlocky and juvenile and just like.
Well, if you're trying to sell toys, of course it's going to be a little schlocky and juvenile. And look what it did. It drew in 2 new readers anyway. So.
That's right. The 2 of us.
I refilled the benefits of Secret Wars even if I didn't read it then. But one thing I was going to say about the art is like Zach's covers are so awesome. They're so great on G.I. Joe, and the Secret Wars covers are so good. If you can compare, if you're like on like Comixology and you're just swiping through and you're like, look at a cover, you're like, oh my god, look at all those guys, they look so good. And then you're like, oh yeah, there they are standing around.
Yeah. They are. It's usually like a long shot drawn at one point perspective, and it's just like a bunch of characters that are like 50 feet away.
Yeah. But the funny thing was, so when they announced, apparently Carol Kalish, who was Marvel's direct sales manager at the time, announced the sequel. Like not too long after the first one, they announced. She said it was met with boos, and she said, "Let's be honest, Secret Wars was crap, but it did sell."
Wow.
But I disagree. I disagree,
and I feel like time has really made people appreciate what it was, especially people like us. That was our foray into comics, and also just like, but I mean, it is good. Like it's Marvel storytelling.
Yeah, it's quintessential Marvel in 1984.
Yeah.
And you get the feeling that like even with Endgame, like that it's kind of what they're trying to go for. Like this is everybody all together.
Has to, every character is used pretty well. Like, everybody. There's nobody that's just like, oh well, he's just gonna be over there not really doing anything. So you know what I mean? Like
maybe Daredevil wasn't there because there was nothing for a blind guy to do on Battleworld. I'm not trying to be ableist. I'm just saying like maybe there wasn't a compelling story reason to have him be there.
Right. I'm sure that was it. I'm sure there were long, meetings deciding who the characters are going to be. But,
yeah, Mattel was like, use this guy, use this guy, use this guy. And they were like, okay, we will. And then like, all right, now we're going to put out none of those characters.
It's pretty funny that they had a Wolverine figure. They literally could have painted him differently and had him be Hawkeye, but instead they're like, we'll make Daredevil.
I have a feeling like that's something your brother would have done.
We did paint the Iron Man white so that because he was yellow.
White?
Yeah.
Red. And so, but at the time, Iron Man, or maybe a little while after this.
A year after.
Yeah, but a year after, Iron Man's suit changed like silver and red. And so we painted the yellow part like white.
Yeah. You had to wait years before you could finally get the Silver Centurion Iron Man.
Oh,
as a figure. I think that was like one of those Marvel.
Oh, yeah. I think you're right. The funny thing was that was also because that was Rhodey as Iron Man, not Tony Stark. So I was like, who the hell is this guy?
Again, since I hadn't been reading comics, I was only familiar with them from cartoons that we watched. That I was like, wait, what? What?
It's so funny that it's Rhodey because, I mean, I didn't really think of him as Rhodey. I just thought of him as Iron Man when I was reading the story, even though I knew it was him.
Yeah, at the time it was a big deal because Tony Stark had been Iron Man for like 20, whatever, or 15, 8, whatever, how many years?
3 years.
Was it?
No,
Iron Man came out. Yeah. So, anyways, but yeah, Rhodey.
Well, when was the war in Afghanistan? That's how you have to figure it out.
I think that was in the future. So
yeah.
So Secret Wars takes place in the Marvel timeline if you go by that weird Marvel logic. So Secret Wars is about 7 years ago.
Wow.
Oh,
jeez, how about that? Well, Ben Franklin was a very small child, apparently, and Susan Richards was pregnant with her.
Ben Franklin.
Child. What the hell's his name? Franklin Richards. Ben Franklin. I think I was thinking of Ben Grimm.
That's so funny because I was just thinking that. I was like,
did they really name him Ben Franklin? I had to think about it for a second.
I just pictured Ben Franklin in my head, and I was like, oh, okay, I guess that's
what we're going with. That was our. What was that thing that we were going to do? History Heroes or whatever? And it was going to be History Force. It was all going to be like people pulled from different times to fight crime.
That's good. That's public domain.
That's how Marvel
a good idea.
Yeah, thank you.
It worked. So, but yeah, anyway, so this was when Tony Stark was drinking and he gave up being Iron Man and Rhodey became Iron Man, and he was just, but he talked different. He's like,
He talked like like an 80s stereotypical black character, which is
written by a white guy.
Yeah. That's just watch the G.I. Joe cartoon and watch when they show Roadblock. That'll be all you need to know right there. I like when he's where he's like hitting on.
He's hitting on Captain Marvel, the black Captain Marvel, not Captain Marvel, blonde girl that we have now, but she was, And
that's who I think of when I think of Captain Marvel, Ms. Marvel.
I think this lady is still around, Monica Rambeau. Of course, she's sort of, they use her as, she's the little kid in the movie.
I thought it was her mom. Oh, she's a little kid?
She's a different Ram. I mean, she has a different first name. But yeah, anyways.
Rambo?
Rambo, yes. John Rambo. Funny name for that. But so we don't have to go through the whole storyline, but
because we never do. So
right.
Like, why start now?
Well, it's 12, as Clay said, it's very long.
Yeah.
So
your main beats are the Thing, like, keeps turning back into human. Galactus is going to eat the planet. They don't know what the shit's going on with that. Dr. Doom is up to his no good nicks things, and he's trying to get the power of the Beyonder. You've got your infighting with the X-Men and the Magneto, and the good guys don't know what to, like, the heroes don't know what to make of it. And everybody wants to go home. Colossus wants to hook up with a healer that Johnny Storm was hooking up with.
Yeah, they kind of.
That was a big deal. I'll talk about that later, but that was a big deal because it was always Colossus and Kitty Pryde, and this was their big breakup. But
Claw comes back, and I always pictured him to talk like Digby Masters.
Be
like,
dude,
it's Claw.
Okay, now that you say that, I picked some. I just like screenshotted as I was reading it when I came across a really good panel, and like I was thinking about how great an audio comic this would be. Wolverine's like, hands off, Hawkeye. Cyclops is a jerk, but he's our jerk.
Yeah, it's perfect. It's perfect.
Oh yeah, I mean, but in the end, so near the end, Dr. Doom does in fact get the Beyonder's powers, and he becomes all powerful. And he becomes also like, he's kind of like, no, I want to be good. The only reason I'm doing all this is because my mom's soul is held captive by
and Mephisto. Is that like true, or was he? I thought he was having like a fever dream, and I couldn't tell if that stuff was really happening.
I mean, no, that's true. That's been his raison d'etre for what?
Ooh. Clap sound effect.
So like, he's all powerful, but he tells the heroes like, no, don't worry, it's all good. I'm not gonna hurt you. And they have a meeting with them, and they're kind of like, I don't know, I'm not sure, I trust them. And they're all kind of like,
the Colossus is the holdout at first. He's like, because they say it has to be unanimous, because what could happen is that we could all agree, and then a giant lightning bolt will come down and strike us.
Yeah.
And then Colossus is like, you guys are right, we should attack. And then a giant lightning bolt comes down and strikes them.
Yeah. And it's literally the end of issue 11.
Coincidence?
Should have been the end of the whole series.
Yeah. All right. This huge panel, this one full page splash page of all the heroes getting like obliterated. It's pretty cool, actually. I remember as a kid being like, what? Like, because I still didn't know how comics worked.
Yeah.
So I was just like, what the fuck? So yeah, that was, and then there was issue 12, which was like also a thick, it was like a double-sized issue or something.
Yeah, it's like a nice thick steak.
There's not even really that much bonus in here, and plus all the issues have ads in them. There's like maybe 25 to 30 pages of back matter and front matter. The rest is all comics in 368 pages. So it's a lot. 12 issues is a lot of comic books. They made like 28-page comics back then. Sometimes.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, sometimes it did. But yeah, issue 12 was a big one. But I loved also issue 12 opens on like Captain America's shield, all like half.
Oh, I know.
Chunk, like a big chunk taken out. And I was just like, oh my god, this is the worst. Like, this is just the worst. But that healer comes that was in love, that Cyclops wasn't, Colossus was in love with. She heals him, brings him back to life. He brings back. But it's kind of funny because
Claw is telling him, like, this is what could have happened, because
right.
How do we know, like, you didn't really want to kill them? You just think you wanted to kill them, but deep down, your subconscious, because that was the whole thing with Doom. He's like, I can't fall asleep because blah, blah. And if Doom was, like, had any fucking brains, he'd be like, I should just sort of evolve into a higher life form with all this power, so I don't need to have a physical body and stuff, and I don't need to sleep and do this other shit, because he got that. The Beyonder was like that.
Well, the Beyonder was inside Claw too, so the Claw was like the Beyonder was manipulating Claw into egging Doom on, kind of like.
And also, like, part of Galactus' ship was in Claw too.
Oh, is that?
That was why he was cutting them apart.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, they did. Well, he did that to make the lenses so that he could absorb Galactus's power and then have enough to confront the Beyonder.
There's so much stuff in this that, like, we're not going to cover, because we, like, only said, like,
the whole thing about
black suit. Like, we're not even, like, we'll have.
We haven't even gotten to that, right?
Ultron is
Ultron
wants to kill everybody.
That's true.
What Ultron do?
Well, first Galactus takes all of Ultron, like he takes Ultron power, because Ultron's like, I want to kill everybody, including you, big guy, and he tries to fight, and Galactus is just like, zip, and kills him. But then Doom brings him back, and he's like, he's gonna be my slave bot, not sex bot, slave.
No,
slave bot.
Yeah, slave bot, definitely.
And so, like, but that was pretty interesting because Ultron had always been
have to
heavy.
Point out that Molecule Man is getting, like, the 5-star treatment from Doom, being like, you're, like, the most powerful guy around,
Yeah.
Would you like to meet my friend Volcana or whatever?
Yeah, he's like hooking her.
She likes wimpy nerds who have no self-confidence. He's like, I'm a wimpy nerd that has no self-confidence.
Yeah, but then he gets confidence. It's kind of
He starts to realize.
It's pretty. There's a lot.
He has
really
the biggest character arc in the whole thing.
I guess he does. Yeah. And that actually continues into the Secret Wars 2, which is not nearly as good, but
it's really annoying. I even as a 12-year-old, I was like, I kind of hate this. But
it was too big. It was literally in every comic.
Yeah,
this is terrible. But I mean, so in the end, like Doom may have subconsciously brought back the heroes or helped it along a little bit, but they came back. And they attacked him, but he was so frazzled that he was like, Claw, you go deal with them. There was like because there was a cool moment where Captain America goes to confront Doom, and he's like,
he just keeps blasting him.
Yeah, he keeps blasting him to bits, but he keeps coming back because Doom is all powerful and just he's like bringing him back because he's just like he can't control his power, and eventually it just overcomes him, and then that little bit of the Beyonder that was in Claw comes back, takes back his godhood, and Doom is sent away. And, like, presumed dead, but, I mean, come on, it's Doom.
It's Doom. Yeah, he's like the Megatron of Secret Wars. Like, just floating out in space, surviving some sort of big explosion. Then his eyes open up, he's like, I'll be avenged.
Yeah. I feel like there's, like, the villains being, like, good guys. I don't think you see a lot of that with Doom now in comics, like the last, 10, 20
years. He was like Iron Man for a little while, right?
And then like Magneto, like, leading parts of the X-Men at certain points. Like, that seems like it's not only a big crossover, but the big like shift for Marvel.
Well,
big villains,
one of the things that Jim Shooter was doing at the time was planning the new universe, but he also wanted to start introducing his own things, which is why Black Suit Spider-Man comes along. He's like, he wanted to put the Shooter stamp on things. And the guy that came up with the Spider-Man idea was a fan who submitted it to Marvel and said, hey, here's if you change Spider-Man's costume. And they're like, that's great. Thanks, buddy. Here's $250 for your troubles. That's what that guy got.
That's pretty much how Jim Shooter got into comics too. Didn't he write a letter to fucking Gene Colan
like a
or something?
kid. He was like
he was like 14 years old. And like Carmine Infantino hired him or something.
Yeah.
Hey, how about that?
They let that guy do another. They let that guy do like it was maybe even like a year ago. They had
sort of recently. I know what you're talking about.
They were like, hey, why don't you like write a 8-page story? And J.J. Abrams gonna write an 8-page story for the anniversary of Venom or something like that. So they like gave him another $200 in 2019, I guess.
Yeah.
All right. That was really, I guess. I mean, that was the biggest thing to come out of it. Although obviously we didn't know at the time it was.
I have the panel right here. This is great and such a toy tie-in, like such a. We used to get this in G.I. Joe all the time, too. Well, I'll be an 8-Ball's uncle. That glob just spread out and became a costume and dissolved away the standards of my old one. Not bad. Different, but not bad. That sounds like, what is this? Earth fruit? It's yummy and not bad. I wonder why it didn't come out like my old one. What was I thinking of? And then he's like, in the next panel, he's like, look, I can make it into shorts.
Yeah. No, he's out like the web just
like a
tennis
outfit. It's like Johnny from Airplane. He was like, I can make a hat.
I mean,
but yeah, that was
idea, I guess, in retrospect. But yeah.
But isn't it like he didn't use the right machine for the costume or something? Wasn't it like they retconned it so it was the symbiote was hiding in there and
yeah. I mean that is one thing they've done. They've retconned like everything. There's like a whole planet of these symbiotes and whatever.
Yeah.
You know, and stuff like that. But at the time, it was.
And he's just saying that it's like,
oh my God, Spider-Man has a new costume.
And he's saying like that his mind is in control of the suit. He's like, I must have been thinking about Spider-Woman's costume when I touched this.
Who wouldn't be thinking about Spider-Woman?
Yeah. And he's like, oh, well, maybe now I'm just doing this in my Peter Parker voice. Oh, well.
Of course. No,
maybe I was subconsciously influenced by that new Spider-Woman suit. Hope she doesn't mind. Whoa! What was that? A planet quake?
That was like, I mean, obviously that was the biggest thing, and then it became even bigger years later. But I want to bring up the Colossus thing too, though, because that was huge in X-Men, and that was there was some great
Kitty
issues
Pryde.
of X-Men that came out of this. Kitty Pryde, like I remember buying this issue where like he tells Kitty like I met someone and we fell in love and blah blah blah. Even though she's dead, like the woman died. I guess we should say the healer died, bringing Colossus back to life. She put like all of her life force into it. But then
I feel like that was very Star Trek. A lot of this is very Star Trek. Like they're on a planet and like she doesn't speak the language, but she can heal. It's like, just lay down here and you'll heal.
How can you fall in love with something? It's like it's comics.
The universal language of love.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is, so like Wolverine was just like, you're only in love with her because she healed you. Like it has this psychosomatic, like, effect on your brain. And he wanted to beat the shit out of Colossus because he was like, you abandoned Kitty. Like, what an asshole you are. And so like they go to this bar and it like Wolverine is like, I'm gonna beat him up. And Nightcrawler's there trying to keep the peace. And it happens that Juggernaut is also drinking there, and Colossus ends up getting a huge fight with Juggernaut. And Juggernaut beats the crap out of him. And Wolverine's just like, all right, well, it happened anyway. So it was a really cool issue. It was one of the first X-Men issues I remember reading, and I was just like, oh, this is, even as like a kid, I thought that was pretty messed up and pretty cool at the same time, like pretty deep. So yeah,
I like that the part where Colossus is sort of like missing Kitty and thinking about her. It's sort of, like the comic book equivalent of like rubbing one out, and then Professor X hops in there. He's like, Colossus, get with it.
He's like, knock on my door.
The bandana means don't come in.
I love the comic book equivalent of rubbing. I mean,
then he does it later where he's hooking up with her. He's like, he cock blocks him.
Yeah. And he's like, go away, Professor. He's like, no, we kind of need you to fight Galactus now. And he's like, I'm making out with my lady here. it is pretty funny. I guess when you think about it too, like what did the Wasp and Magneto do? Was it the comic book equivalent of making out, or was it what was it? Did they go farther?
I'm gonna say like Magneto got to third base.
Oh, okay.
And he got a handy. Because I mean,
whoa,
like, because
so
she needed to get the information.
They both got to third base. Is what you mean?
All right. Apparently,
she's not a bad-looking man, so she's
Silver
like,
Fox.
Could be worse, you know.
Silver Fox.
Yeah, I mean, it could be the Blob I have to do this with, you know.
There was, speaking of the Wasp, I don't even understand how this works. Apparently, when they did the second Secret Wars, and I don't mean Secret Wars 2, I mean the one they did a couple years ago, where they just had all the universes combined. There was a Deadpool called this series called Secret Wars, and it was a 4-issue miniseries which sort of retold the events of the original Secret Wars with Deadpool in it. And it was kind of just this funny thing, like Deadpool was actually there, but somehow the Wasp made everyone forget that he was there.
I'm gonna get that. That sounds great.
I bet it's pretty funny.
If it's Jerry Duggan, it's probably really good.
Apparently, they try to explain why all the figures had those shields. They did, yeah. So I think they're having fun with that. But yeah, there was
the Captain America bugged me that those lenticular shields. So I just drew my own shield and cut it out.
Did you make it
put it
round
of the
Captain America shield is round.
I guess we should point out, that when Doom is defeated and this whole like all you desire shall be yours thing, Captain America's shield is restored at the end.
He does the Mystery Science Theater noise of the brain guy, and then his shield goes back.
Yes. But there was some good stuff. Like there was also an issue of Thor, like Thor 383 or something like that.
Enchantress was all over Thor. She's like, we should, we're us.
We're the only 2 Asgardians on here. We should hook up. And Thor's like, well, I'll do it if you become a good guy, basically. He's like, don't be...
She's like, I'm not going to become a guy.
No, it's exactly what you said. But they kind of played that out. They showed that happen again. The Enchantress is like telling the story to her sister, like the time that she could have had Thor, like if only she could have been like a good person, but she didn't. Yeah, and Thor ended up, they thought he got killed by Ultron and whatever. But yeah, so it's kind of cool.
This is probably the first and last time where they didn't put the cart before the horse. They had this, and then it actually blossomed into cool new storylines in Thor and Spider-Man and everything. Stuff actually did come from this. Now they say it comes from this, but they come up with the crossover idea first, and then they force everybody else to do it. This one was probably the only time where it naturally could have been like, oh, I'll take that element and I'll put that in Thor, and I'll do something cool thing with it.
Yeah, they did. Also, She-Hulk became a member of the Fantastic Four, and Thing decided to stay on the planet, and he had his own series for a while. It was just a thing. Going around in space.
The Comics Explained guy said he had a 36-issue series after this.
Oh, 36.
I have the first issue of that. I remember buying it when it came out.
Thing is the only superhero I can draw that doesn't look stupid. They can just draw rocks.
So yeah, I mean, a lot. Yeah, and also not only did it, like you said, it started all these other crossovers for good or bad. I guess you could say like, thank you very much. But at the time, it was just to sell some toys. But what else? Yeah, they also did like a Secret Wars 3. It was like a 2 or 3 issue arc in Fantastic Four one.
And then there was also Secret War.
Right.
Didn't Bendis write that? And it was like a painted book?
Oh, yeah. That's
in
right. I forgot about that. That was a completely different thing.
Yeah,
I feel like
they used the
they just
name.
used the
It
name.
was like a Nick Fury story or something, wasn't it?
Yeah.
One thing that I was reading, it was called, I forget what it was, Avengers. Anyways, they had like Arcade do like a Battleworld series that I thought was really great because they kind of like just pitted people against each other and they killed them off. It was like Battle Royale. It was and Arcade isn't really a Secret Wars villain. Is he in Secret Wars 2?
No, I don't think so. But I mean,
they were doing a lot with
was.
Battleworld a couple years ago, like when they had Old Man Logan and all the different universes back in again. So like they, still use all this stuff.
Well, I think when they did that one, it was Hickman in 2015. They did this Secret Wars.
I didn't understand that at all.
I think it was really just a way to kind of get rid of the Ultimate Universe too, because that's what they ended up having, all these different universes, and they kind of just blended them together. And then, but I think really the idea was just, how do we get rid of this Ultimate Universe thing, but still keep the guys that we want? Basically, Miles Morales was like, I think the only one they really wanted to keep. So that was their storytelling way of doing it. But it was again, just like Secret Wars 2, it was huge. Like there was too many books. It was lame. Not that, I mean, like this was great. I mean, there were definitely the regular Marvel books were still going on.
Yeah, it like at the end of like you reading, Spider-Man gets sucked into this thing at the end of his issue of Amazing Spider-Man. Then the next issue, it's him coming back with a black suit, and then you've got to read Secret Wars to find out what happened in between.
Yeah, but really, it was self-contained. It was 12 issues. Like, you didn't have to buy the crossovers and all this other crap, like all these other things that they've been doing.
What's cool about even reading it, like this many years later, it's a good story, and you don't need all the other bullshit. Sometimes you go to read like, I don't know, Civil War or whatever, and you're like, oh, there's actually probably 10 issues of Captain America or whatever else that I'm missing, that I'm not reading this whole trade paperback or whatever,
Yeah, I mean, I know they want to sell more books, but this would be the way to do it, right? Because it worked for us. So like, just have one self-contained series. But if you're just reading Spider-Man, you're like, well, I better get that other one because I don't know where this black suit came from. Like, why do you have to put the thing at the top and now whatever. I don't want to complain too much, but Secret Wars, I think, has gained a lot of popularity. Like it's made lists of. There was like an MTV, some guy on MTV, like even at the time, made like a list of the best comic books or whatever, and all these things. It's always on those kinds of lists.
That's why, I'd like to point out that when Durst and I were doing our Secret Monkey comic, we went to a focus group and said, what are words that people like? And we were like, Secret Wars. People like Secret Wars. Well, they've already done Secret Wars. People like monkeys. So there we go.
There we go.
That's it. We have focus group research.
Yeah, focus group. And also, of course, number 8, Secret Wars number 8, the first appearance of the black suit is.
Well, I feel there are two like really iconic moments in Secret Wars: the black suit cover, and then the cover for issue 4, where like the Hulk is holding up the entire fucking mountain and is like annoyed about it. Those are like
all the covers are pretty great, but you're right about those are
the ones that you're just like, damn.
Yeah,
it is similar. They had him. That was Bob Layton drew that cover, I think, right?
Yeah.
I read that they made him redraw it because it looked too much like the Herb Trimpe cover where Hulk was holding the logo.
Oh yeah.
But so they turned. I guess he was like facing the camera initially, and they were like, redraw it, and he was like, oh yeah. He's like, I kind of subconsciously had that in there. I guess it's basically the same thing, but. He was like, yeah, I see why you want me to redraw it, and it does look fucking badass.
It's pretty cool because you get the sense of how big that mountain is. Like a mountain. It's not just him just holding up a little, because like they're kind of small at the bottom.
You can't hold it forever.
Well, there was a funny thing in that issue where Reed Richards is like telling him that he's not that smart because he's trying to get him mad so that he'll get stronger and be able to hold the mountain up. I kind of like that. And later on, Reed's like, "Hey, sorry about that." He's like, "No, I get it. I know what you were doing, but
I'll get you later." You know what I also liked about these covers is the 80s limited series on the top with number 4 and a 12-inch limited series. We got that with G.I. Joe. We got that with some other stuff, and then I think they even did like the Punisher was like number 5 in an ongoing series eventually when they just like made it like not a limited series anymore.
Well, you know what I miss about Marvel Comics? I always like the corner box with the character in it.
Yeah,
corner box is pretty cool.
The character.
Yeah.
And they do it now, but they'll like, for like variants and stuff. Like that's always cool. But why not have it on there anyway? Now it'd be different because you wouldn't have to have the comics cover.
No.
Yeah. 75 cents for that issue 1, by the way. That was another thing they put in the corner box.
Yeah.
The price.
Yeah, they were all 75. Let's see if issue 12 was also 75. Probably.
Oh, I don't know. That's a good question.
No, it was thick.
It was big.
$25.
THICC. $1 whole dollar.
Oh, wow.
But you got a lot of value in that dollar.
Yeah, you did.
Now let me ask you guys something. Maybe you know. What did I kind of remember like this is dumb, but like the Fantastic Four movie origin where like Victor Von Doom had like a tiny little scar on his face, and then he was so vain that he had to cover himself up. Like in this issue, like when Doom like remakes himself and he like looks like a pretty boy, like what did he look like under all that? It was just like Hamburger? Did he look like fucking Deadpool?
Well,
or was it like just a tiny thing?
Here's the old origin. Jack Kirby used to say that he just had a scar. Yeah, because I guess they've changed it since. That he used to have like just like a scar, but it was imperfect. So he was so vain that he thought he was the ugliest thing. So then when he went to like the monks and they built the armor for him, and then they put for some reason, I don't know why he didn't wait for the face mask to cool off after it came out of the fucking oven. But that was what made him all deformed.
Right. So he scarred himself more permanently. And I think he blamed Reed Richards, right? There was like a thing on it, like somehow he blamed Reed. That's why he always hated
like he's like, you're off by a decimal point there in that thing, and then he got the explosion and stuff in college, and he's like, this is all his.
I like the Doom Richards in college and like the Magneto Charles Xavier in college. He's just like, I'm going to go my way. After graduation, I'm going to go my way. You're going to go your way. We were dorm mates. We used to share ramen noodles. But now...
all that. I learned all that in Marvel Saga. That's how I found out all that stuff. From reading Marvel Saga.
Ooh, what's great is the Wolverine Saga. I had all of those.
Oh, really? I just read Marvel Saga. It was just reprints of old.
Well, it was sort of like
the Watcher or whatever, right?
It was like sort of like getting the encyclopedia of Marvel in a sense, because it would be panels and like then a little text next to it about here's what was happening.
I like those things. Yeah. I'm sure I've read those too.
I love those. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. And like I said, so I guess I'm going to go by memory here. So when they did that Illuminati series, Bendis sort of retconned and made the Beyonder was just an Eternal, I guess.
Okay, see,
right?
I can't.
He's part of
I know that I read it, but I can't.
A race called the Beyonders, which are Eternals, which is, I'm just adding words to what you say. I don't know if any of it's true.
I think, but he was just like, so he was just a regular guy who happened to have this immense power. Yeah, but like back in the 80s, he was like the whole universe. Like he was, but it's like when they did this, they're like, oh no, he's just kind of crazy. and I didn't really understand it, but apparently, since Black Bolt was one of the Illuminati, like he could, and he was the king of the Eternals or whatever. He could tell this guy what to do, and it was just, I was like, why are they doing this?
Thanks for ruining my childhood, Bender.
Seriously, it's like, thanks for taking this.
So it's just, like there's like a million Beyonders. They're just like a race of people that have that power. But that particular one was like snooty. So he like wanted to do this to fuck with the people of Earth or whatever.
Seems like that.
But yeah, back then it was just, holy shit, this is like Galactus level, but bigger. This guy could boss Galactus around. That he's just like a god. Right. I kind of, one thing I didn't like about that is just because I'm used to things being like sort of spoon fed to me, but like I was kind of expecting there to be like, this is what the Beyonder looks like Darkseid or something, like there wasn't any of that. Just like,
no, I think that was fine.
They just talk about it.
Because he was just, and he wasn't like a thing. Like, he was this giant. He was just the universe. He was a universe unto himself. So, but then they kind of ruined that. Yeah, I mean, and even then, like, or whenever they did that storyline, Secret Wars was already like 25 years old then. It's like, why are you going back this far? Like, can't you tell us? Like, they're still doing it in Marvel. They're bringing back the Sin Eater and all this stuff in Spider-Man. Yeah, I'm like, can't you come up with
for that? Yeah,
right.
There's plenty of other ideas.
You think, but
if you could do something cool with it, I mean, like I'm not like totally caught up with Nick Spencer, but like anytime somebody takes over Spider-Man, you like kind of go back to, oh yeah, I'm gonna make my version of like the Sinister Six, and he'll have to do that. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's just like tropey stuff, but.
I mean, it's one thing. It's like Green Goblin gets brought back every couple of years, but the Sin Eater hasn't been seen in Marvel Comics since I was a kid.
Since 1986.
Yeah, seriously. But anyways, like, yeah, Secret Wars, the original, has like, it's still good. Obviously, Clay still, it still holds up. Clay could tell you because he just read it the other day.
I mean, it was like really great. Like, like I like read monthly comics and stuff, and like I'll occasionally go back and like I'll read, I read like what I consider the classics. Like I read, like once a year or something, and like I'll be like, oh, I should like really read Transmetropolitan. I've never checked that out. Or I should read Secret Wars, like. And then I bought the issues, and I was like, I can't wait to read this. And so, like, this is the perfect excuse to, like, totally just sit and read it. And I'm not disappointed at all. I loved it. It was everything great about, like, the things that I liked about Infinity Gauntlet. I liked about, like, the new Avengers movies. Like, when you have this many characters and that all makes sense, it's not a big mess, man, I think that's really awesome.
Yeah. I mean, it's no small feat.
Yeah, and it was started by toys.
That's right.
But I mean, the Avengers was started just because fucking, they were like, the publisher was like, look, they're making Justice League. Give me that. Right. Do that too.
Yeah, that's basically what this was. And I guess it's a good thing too, because like Mattel wanted to like double down because they already had He-Man, and when we see what happened to He-Man after like 1 year, I guess they were probably right. They released 3 waves of Secret Wars action figures, vehicles, and accessories.
What kind of vehicles?
1984 to 85. They had the Doom Castle. I remember I had like the Doom Fortress or whatever.
They had a Fantastic Car or a Spider-Mobile?
No.
Yeah, they had like Doom's Castle. I think that was the only playset that came out.
Yeah, I think so. But I feel like they must have had some cars or something. I don't know. Maybe they didn't have them, but I mean they were in the book. Like the villains would like drive around in tanks and stuff and whatever. So yeah. It's still, it's good stuff. I don't know, check it out.
And like Secret Wars toys. Cool villains are in this too. I mean, like Doc Ock and stuff,
Yeah, all the major
players. Even mention it.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't really touch on the villains too much, except we talked about Molecule Man.
There's actually like so many
Chandra
characters that we didn't probably even get all the heroes. You know, like there's just so many.
Yeah, it was like, you know, the A-team of heroes. So yeah, I don't know. It was pretty.
What do you think of my like estimation there? That like, you know, maybe this is kind of what like Kevin Feige kind of wanted all along. You know, like if they were gonna like pick 4 comic books to base the Marvel Cinematic Universe on, this is probably one of them.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm sort of. I don't know. It seemed like he was going with Infinity Gauntlet.
Yeah.
Well, that is true, but you know, do you get that without this? Probably not.
Probably not.
No,
I don't know.
Probably not. But I mean, I don't think obviously no one at the time knew that there would be a Marvel Cinematic Universe. But yeah, I mean, seeing as how this one sort of bored out all the other crossovers, I think is the so yeah, you could say that this was kind of.
Is this Jim Shooter's masterwork? Is this like the thing that people most remember him for?
I don't know. That's a good question. I mean,
can't say really.
Yeah, he did a lot of other stuff. I mean,
Legion. He did Legion of Superheroes. I don't know.
He was
probably his
doing Valiant. He did a lot of that.
Ever, you know, like that's like his thing. And Mike Zeck, I mean, we all love Mike Zeck. I especially like Mike Zeck for his G.I. Joe work, but also Punisher. Like he's one of my favorite artists.
He did Punisher, and then he did that Craven's Last Hunt.
Oh yeah, that's another good one.
Very popular. Yeah.
I have read that.
I don't know. I didn't like it at the time, but maybe I should go back. I don't know. Maybe I didn't give it. It's just due. But
so when you say something else French.
Oh, like raison d'être. Reason to be.
But you can pick yourself up a Kang from Secret Wars figure.
Kang is a cool.
Oh yeah.
For $11.24 on eBay.
And that was something like this. The Kang, he gets killed or something, right? And then, but
yeah,
he doesn't really because he's a time traveler and there's multiple versions of him.
Well,
I went down like a Kang rabbit hole.
You brought him back to life, I think, right?
Yeah, when Doom had his all powerfulness, he said, "Oh, here, look, see how good I am? I'm going to bring back Kang, who I had killed." And yeah, so that's. But yeah, I guess if you want to go into time travel, technically there are probably other versions of Kang, but whatever. But apparently that Marvel series, like that was for all ages series, they did like different versions of Secret Wars where it was from like Spider-Man's perspective, or from like they did one from Captain America's perspective of Secret Wars. It's kind of neat.
Like the animated one or actual comic books?
No, the comic book ones. I feel like they did like yeah, very well. So there you go.
I must have had Spider-Woman's costume on my mind.
Oh yeah, we can wrap it up. But I do want to what is the I feel like that Spider-Woman kind of is. They were almost teasing. Like, who is she? Is she actually even a good guy? What's her deal? And like it went kind of nowhere.
Well, the same thing when like Lockheed was going back to Earth or whatever, and he had his little friend dragon, his lady friend dragon, and then there was like an explosion.
Oh, there was an issue of X-Men that covered that.
Did it? Okay.
Yeah, they actually ended up in Japan. Like, even though they were supposed to go back to exactly where they disappeared on Earth, but like something with that other dragon. And then when they came out in Japan, that other dragon was huge.
Oh, okay.
It was like
okay, I remember.
Is this pre-Excalibur then?
Oh yeah.
Talking about Lockheed? Wow.
Yeah, pre-Excalibur. So they kind of did this, kaiju thing with this giant monster in Japan, this like giant lizard. And but it was kind of funny because Lockheed was still small, but Lockheed like bossed it around and was like, "Hey, stop it!" So yeah, they did follow up on that.
Okay, good.
But I don't know. As far as the white and black suit Spider Woman, I don't know. I don't know if they did much with her, which I'm kind of surprised at, seeing as how much, especially guys like Bendis like to go back and
they gave her like a different name, like Arachne or something, and they did. I like was reading her Wikipedia and I like fell asleep reading it. I couldn't.
Yeah, but
they did do something.
Yeah, there were a lot of other things that came out of this, and yeah, like you could probably spend a lot of time and money if you wanted to get all the different things that like went into this. But I would say just buy the 12 issues and enjoy it because it's really good.
I somehow have like pretty good looking copies that I haven't even opened. I guess
really
stay in their bags.
Well, if you got number 8, you are in the money.
I have them all. I got them all like a couple years ago. I was like, I'm gonna read them.
Oh, okay.
It was one of those situations where like it was like a birthday gift certificate, and I saw them like at New England Comics. So I was like, yeah, I need that.
All right. Well, yeah, I mean, Secret Wars.
I gotta have it.
I gotta have it.
I just had to have
it. But yeah, I mean, you could get a couple $100 for that if it's in good shape. At least.
So. Not my comics, I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Anyways, well, that's all we got, I think, on that. Don't forget, check us out, leaguepodcast.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. We are on Spotify and Anchor and Apple and all those cool places.
And please, we don't really have many subscribers on YouTube, and probably after you hear this, but it's actually after I record this too. I don't know why I'm talking about time, but please subscribe to our YouTube channel.
You're Kang, right?
Because I'm Kang. If I could go back in time to issue or episode 1, I would Kang and show up, and you guys be like, "What are you doing here? Why are you so fat?" And then I would just say, YouTube, sign up for YouTube. So subscribe to our YouTube channel. Find us League Podcast on there.
Yeah, do that. Yeah, very well. So thank you for listening. And yeah, we will see you chumps later.
Enough said.
Excelsior! Jim shooting from Jim Shooters? Whoa! What was that?